Well, you have to somehow exercise that invisible muscle that tolerates strangeness. My brother had the notion of what he called extra-environmentalism. He said the reason we are fascinated by the alien is because we want to become the alien. And the alien, this is this thing I keep coming back to about the need to graduate from culture. I mean, I'm really into this. It's not about recovering your Irish, Jewish, Slavic roots. We're beyond that. It's about discovering and acting from your uniqueness and not defining yourself as a member of a class or a category. That's a print-created mental error. Things like racism, sexism, all these forms of averaging and leveling are sloppy forms of thought. Have you ever noticed that race, for example, is a quality that adheres only to large groups of people? To speak of a race, you have to have a bunch of people. It's not a quality that adheres to an individual any more than an individual water molecule is wet. Wetness is something that only emerges when you have millions of water molecules. And yet, and I think this is a print-created phenomenon, this overuse of simple categories is a kind of genuflection to the simplification of the world that takes place through print. So, for instance, we analyze social problems through the use of the category class. We say, well, the ruling class is screwing the lower class, or the working class isn't getting its fair deal. This kind of gross oversimplification makes the solution to problems almost intractable, because the objects that your model seeks to manipulate, classes, is an illusion in the first place. And we see, I think, in the 20th century, the bankruptcy of this kind of thinking about human problems. A friend of mine says of mushrooms that every time he takes them, the goal is to stand more. To stand more. And what is meant by that is, A, it ain't easy to go the limit, and that the thing is constantly able to challenge your categorical maps, no matter how advanced your categorical maps are. It can always raise the stakes painfully higher. And so the goal is to stand more. And the more you stand, the more your own place of intellectual origins, your own cultural then, recedes into quaintness. This is what you were talking about getting beyond culture. Culture is a simplification and a lie. It's the currency by which fools navigate the world. Smart people get beyond it, and you can choose when to do that. I don't think for myself it happened until my middle 40s, and then suddenly, because experience and maturation somehow found each other and carried me forward, I began to think like this. Before, I was, in a sense, a true believer. For all the psychedelic experiences and political activism and so forth and so on, I hadn't yet understood that culture was a vehicle that could only be ridden so far, and then beyond that lies the great and to be defined unknown of one's own individuality. And many people never get beyond the imposed neoteny of cultural conventionalism. As I said, it's insidious that in middle life, circumstances tend to deliver us money. Either our parents die or our professional activities finally pay off, and that money is usually the final nail in the coffin of ever evolving beyond cultural convention. Why should we? At last we've achieved the fruits of our labors, the good life, the comfortable dream, but it's the dream of anesthesia. That feeling you feel is the gurney that's rolling you toward the tissue disposal ovens. Anyway,